Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny. Now that's the name of a brand new documentary produced by former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich and his wife Callista. You can get the DVD at gingrichproductions.com. Earlier, the Speaker and Callista went on the record about their new film and the legacy of our 40th president. Nice to see both of you.
Good to be.
All right, Callista, was this your idea for this movie?
Well, we came to this idea together, actually. We both love Ronald Reagan. And we wanted to have a documentary where we could show people the inspiration of Ronald Reagan and how he changed not only our nation, but the world.
Mr. Speaker, did your opinion, or did you learn anything from the movie, doing the movie, that you didn't know about the former president before he started?
Yeah, I learned a number of things, even though I had campaigned with him in the 70s and then worked with him when I was a congressman in the 80s. I think one of the most fun things that we did was go up to the ranch, which is really very different. And you know, he spent a full year on the ranch.
You mean if you added up the time?
Yeah, if you added up all the time, he's there for the equivalent of a full year. And you begin to realize that he and Nancy had this little place that's very homey and very, you know, it's not very overwhelming.
There's one point where you're standing in, I think, in the ranch, inside the small room. Is that inside the ranch? I think it appeared.
Yes. The ranch is really very modest, and it has a lot of unique ranch decor. For example, in the bathroom, his shower head was a Liberty Bell.
Well, it's fun to watch the movie, and I mean, because you go back to the old clips, and you also go to the clips during the course of his presidency. But what I found most intriguing is you traveled the world for this. This is, I mean, it's extraordinary. This took you all over the world.
We did travel a lot. We started, of course, at the Reagan Library, and then we went to the Reagan Ranch, just north of Santa Barbara. And then in June, we went to Normandy, and we taped at Pointe du Hoc, where the Army Rangers scaled the cliffs to liberate the continent.
And a great speech. That's probably one of Reagan's best speeches, I think.
Did you get a tear at the moment in the movie where he is reading the letter from the girl about her father?
I'll never forget what you went through, Dad, nor will I let anyone else forget. Dad, I'll always be proud.
It was pretty. It's extraordinary.
I mean, he gets a tear.
Right, he gets a tear.
It's really very powerful. And then we went. Callista's half Polish, and so we ended up in Gdansk, Poland, with Lech Walesa.
We taped at the London shipyards, where the Solidarity movement began. And then we traveled to Prague, and we interviewed President Václav Havel in Prague, Czech Republic.
It's sort of interesting in listening to the different people who you interviewed during the movie. There was often discussion. I think even Sam Donaldson talked about how people underestimated him, and that was one of the strengths that he had, that he was underestimated.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it was partly, much like Eisenhower, something that he worked at. He wanted people to think that he was just pleasant, that he was easygoing, that things just happened to happen.
But he always exceeded expectations.
And I think when you look back, you realize he really did have a general plan. I mean, he arrived seeking three great breakthroughs, and he achieved all three. He reignited the American economy by cutting taxes and regulations. He renewed the belief in American civic culture. People were proud to be American again. And he defeated the Soviet Empire, which disappeared. We sat one night recently and watched the whole movie for the first time when it had all been brought together by Dave Bossy and Citizens United, who did a great job, and Kevin Knobloch, who directed. And the first time we saw the whole film, and at the end of 90 minutes, it was kind of overwhelming, because you can talk about Reagan, but he's like a great athlete or a great ballerina. I mean, watching him on a screen is just, I think, I don't know if you had that experience, but as you watched it, it's a different experience.
I love the speeches. I mean, and you can't tear down that wall, of course, is the other favorite one, the classic one that they associate with Reagan.
Tear down this wall.
Can you imagine any other politician delivering that line with the power he delivered it with?
What do you think President Reagan, if he were with us now, what would he be saying about what's going on in the world? What's your thought?
Oh, this is one of the things I learned from making, where the movie really helped me a lot and helped recenter my own thinking. I think Reagan would say there are first principles. You know, the Poles, when they were trying to break free from the communists, one of their slogans was 2 + 2 = 4. And what they meant by that if the state tells you 2 + 2 = 3, the state's lying. If the state tells you 2 + 2 = 5, the state's lying. And Reagan, I think, would say to us tonight, You can't have all this government spending. You can't turn all this power over to bureaucrats. You can't trust politicians with this amount of money. And if you really want to get this economy growing again, you better cut out the regulations that don't work, quit giving money to crooks, and dramatically reduce spending and cut taxes so you can be the most competitive place in the world. And I think he would have zero doubt that what we're trying to do in the stimulus package is utterly destructive and doomed to fail. And he would have a totally different track. And it's kind of eerie to look at the mess that Jimmy Carter made of the late 70s. You know, 22% interest rates, 13% inflation, deepest recession since the Great Depression. And then look at Reagan come in with this clear, vivid future.